Today on The Complete Rider, a man who teaches that relationships with horses date back hundreds of years. Native horseman Gawani Pony Boy. And he was the other famed steed in the Roy Rogers Show. Today's legend remembers Buttermilk.
Hi everyone, I'm Jan Coldwell, and our hoof cleaner here is Dave Polson, and you're in for a special treat today as we feature a horseman who does things in a little different way. And both Dave and I had the opportunity to meet and talk with him.
His name is Gawani Pony Boy, and he's been very busy the past few years. He's written 3 books, he's traveled the world teaching and performing, and his good horse pal Kola has recently been reproduced into a Breyer doll. They're quite a pair. Let's take a look.
I am young and do not know many things, but this I know. Our paths crossing is not a mistake. It took many wars and much bloodshed so that we might meet. Our grandmothers and their grandmothers bore much pain, shed many tears, and called out to their children in the forest many times so that our paths might cross. I'm originally from Cherokee, North Carolina. I'm mixed blood Jalagi, which in English is Cherokee. I grew up with horses, departed from them for a brief time during college, and now I spend most of my time with horses again. I spent about 3 years shortly after college traveling with a traditional Native American drum group. And during that time, I learned, besides the music and the drum, I learned many, many things about horses. I never sought out to research horses, but being among so many tribal elders and them having knowledge of the old ways with horses, I learned tremendous amounts of information. I think the biggest difference between the old ways and the new ways is that traditionally you obtained a horse and you kept it for life, or as long as you were both able to be with each other. Nowadays, because of competitions and because of sports with horses, we tend to get horses that are athletes, and we use them for a year, and then we look for a better athlete. And it's the whole immediate gratification thing that really dominates today. Let's just talk about the ones that happen in the discernment. 1 out of 10 times you're going to come over the top of the horse. That one gets Kola, the horse that travels with me most of the time. I got him at a year old, and I left him with a friend for the first month that I had him because I was on the road. And when I came back, he had a name. His name was Kola. Now, my friend is a Lakota friend. He's probably my best friend. And he named him the Lakota word that means best friend, which is Kola. Kola and I have traveled together for 8 years now, and we perform together. And I think relationships with horses go through phases, especially when you spend so much time with them. Initially, I had to develop a relationship with Kola, and I became the leader of the herd, and he followed. Then we became best friends because we spent so much time together. And now we're kind of on the same terms as rival brothers would be. There's arguments and there's tussles, and we love each other very much, but we're kind of on the same level. I should probably be a little bit above him, but because we understand each other so well, we're more like brothers.
Pony's native regalia is that of an 1880s scout, and each piece has an important meaning. His leggings are made of horsehair that indicate he becomes part of the horse, and the stripes show that he is an accomplished horseman.
Breastplate's made of deer bone, deer rib bones, hollowed up, hardened in the fire, and used to deflect bullets and arrows. The headdress is called a roach. It's made out of deer hair and porcupine guard hair. Yeah, that was a turkey feather, used to obtain the eyesight of the turkey. Very quiet, cautious animal, a very keen eyesight. A single black line indicated it was an honor mark, basically, one of the first markings that a young warrior could earn. It's the least offensive.
Not only were the warriors marked, so were their mounts. Pony paints cola in the same way for their presentations.
Natives painted their horses for several reasons. One reason was to intimidate the enemy, just like they painted their faces. It looks a little scary. Another reason was to empower the horse. Sometimes special medicine paints were used, applied by a medicine person, to empower the horse, give them special powers. But more often than not, the paints were military badges, worn to show the rider's achievements and accomplishments. And I talk a lot about... Yeah, that paint was a medicine paint that a medicine person would place around the eye of the horse to give the horse better vision, and not necessarily physical vision, but better vision in battle. And a 6-shot pistol in this holster. Put your hand on your gun, Robbie. I love working with kids. It's always been a traditional belief among most Native peoples that we are responsible for the next 7 generations of humans that walk the earth. You don't really think I'm going to shoot this thing, do you? I would never, ever do that. I really believe that. To put it in a nutshell, I believe that kids are much more important than we adults. Now, before I show you... Being one with is more than being next to or within. It's being just what it says, one with. The picture that I use for people is when an eagle's soaring on the wind, the eagle isn't on the wind and the wind isn't blowing the eagle. The eagle is actually part of that wind, and every beat of the wind's wings affects the wind, and every shift of winds affects the eagle.
By fusing the old ways of his elders with his own training methods, Pony has developed relationship training.
You have to learn who the horse is, not just what the horse is. Horses are individuals, and different things motivate different horses. So it's really important that you spend a day passively observing your horse in its natural environment, wherever that may be, in the pasture or in the paddock, to get to know who the horse is. Relationship training is what I call the system or the practices that I suggest people use. And it involves many exercises, but in each of those exercises, it places more importance on the relationship than the actual result of the exercise. If you hope to achieve results, you have to have a good relationship with the horse. And when I talk about relationships, I mean the kind that horses understand, not the kind that we understand. Without that relationship, you really can't go anywhere, and anyone can go for results. But if you really want to cement that relationship together, you have to concentrate on it. Horses don't understand the same kinds of interpersonal relationships that we do. They primarily understand the relationships that exist in a herd. And in that herd, you are either the leader or a follower to some degree. And to the dismay of most horse owners, if you're not the leader, your horse becomes the leader. The concept of horses whispering or whispering to a horse is a fine human concept. However, horses don't understand that kind of language. They understand abrupt, aggressive, affectionate, but not kinder and whispering. It's real important when working with horses that we remember what the horse is and how horses communicate, not necessarily how humans communicate. The most common problem that people have with their horses stems many symptoms, but the problem is that the horse never learned to give to pressure. It is not a natural response for a horse to give to pressure. If you walked up to a horse and pull on his halter, he'll back away from you. What we need to do is teach a horse to give to that pressure. It translates over to the bit, giving to the bit, or to the leg, giving to the leg. And if a horse doesn't know the basic concept of giving in to pressure, then we have all kinds of problems with the horses. Won't respond to the bit, they shake their head, they won't be tied up to something, that just all kinds of problems.
Come here. Come on.
I believe it's much more effective to teach a person how to train a horse rather than to train the actual horse. Anyone can train a horse. With the right amount of knowledge and time and patience, anyone can learn to train horses. However, if I come and train your horse and then I leave, I've developed a relationship with your horse, you haven't. So you're pretty much back where you started. Horses understand what you're focusing on. Not necessarily what you're looking at, but what you're devoting your energy to. We teach young riders to look into a turn before actually turning. And every time a young rider looks into a turn, the horse's right ear will look in that same direction. The reason they have this ability is because they're herd animals. And in a herd, you have to know everything that's going on around you. They have the ability to know what's happening with every member of the herd. If you've ever seen a flock of birds all move in identical motion, it's more than a visual cue, because if that were the case, it would be a serpentine kind of motion. They understand what's happening around them, and they understand what their riders are focusing on. Focal cues are the end result of years of riding and years of practice when you're not trying to achieve them. They can be achieved if you set out to achieve them. Olympic riders communicate focally with their horses all the time. Jumpers communicate focally when a jump is about to happen. But they've done it almost in a way that they don't know they've done it. They've developed it by accident. If we really set out to develop that ability, our horses can understand us better, and we can understand our horses better. The one thing I could tell people, 5 words: a horse is a horse. And that would be it. We really have to look at horses, not as our teenage kids, not as dogs, not as pets. They're horses. We have to learn what the horse is, then we have to learn who the horse is, and then we have to work within the boundaries of the nature of the horse. I am young and do not know many things, but this I know: our paths crossing is not a mistake. The stones do not always recognize the water rushing over them, but they know that it is not a mistake. Our paths have crossed for a reason Creator knows of. We must now find out why, and in doing so, ensure that their paths will also cross. This I know.
On today's Legend, we take a look at the life of the woman who's still known as the reigning Queen of the West. Now, sometimes her famous horse co-star is forgotten a little bit. Well, this week we examine the life of the quarter horse gelding who sometimes upstaged Trigger. His name was Buttermilk.
During the golden age of television, while all the cowboys were fighting it out to see who would be king, there was only one unquestionable sovereign queen.
Dale Evans, Queen of the West.
Born Frances Octavia Smith, but known to the world as Dale Evans. Vocalist, dancer, co-star, mother, wife, and still reigning Queen of the West at over 80 years young. Her four-legged partner in movies and the long-running television series has become something of a favorite trivia question. But where did it all start?
I really couldn't ride. I had to take lessons. Roy helped me. Gabby Hayes helped me. They were both excellent on horseback. I was in several films and Roy's pictures with Buttermilk. Buttermilk's the same kind of horse that John Wayne rode. He was a buckskin quarter horse. We were at a place, it was in Lone Pine. It's one of the location spots for our pictures. And we had a wonderful guy. He took care of the horses. His name was Buddy Sherwood. He was a wrangler. And he walked over to my horse and was holding him before we were beginning to shoot. And he said, "Dale, look at those clouds up there." And they were broken white clouds, you know, a lot of them. He said, "That looks just like Buttermilk." And he said, "You know, did you remember that song years ago called Old Buttermilk Sky?" Hoagie Carmichael's song. He said, we ought to change the name of this horse instead of Soda to Buttermilk. And so we did it on the spot. He was a calf roping horse. Tried to buy him off of Roy, but Roy wouldn't sell him because, you know, it was good for me, and he was a little horse. He was rough, though. Boy, when he went around a curve, he changed his stride. And, you know, boy, it was something else. I mean, you were just like a trot, but a big, big, rough trot, you know. He was a sprightly little horse, and he could run like the wind. As a matter of fact, Roy used to say, hold him back, when we were on a chase together. But it was just that his takeoff was so fast. Quarter horse, you know, on a short run, they can really sprint, they can really go. He fit me size-wise, he fit me. I love Trigger. There's never been another horse that I've ever been on like Trigger. He was like a rocking chair. Buttermilk's kind of rough, you know, he's trots and it's pretty rough.
Today, Buttermilk is where you'd expect him to be, alongside his longtime companion Trigger and their sidekick Bullet, the Wonder Dog, at the Roy Rogers Museum off Old Route 66 in Victorville, California. Buttermilk, one of television and movies' living legends.
Here at Washington State University, we have the unique ability to offer MR imaging on adult live horses. The horse has to be under general anesthesia, and Dr. Richter is monitoring the vital signs of the horse while he is in the imaging magnet. The MR unit is a highly magnetized apparatus, and we have to be very careful about ferromagnetic metal sources such as the shoes of a horse. Dr. Kippenes is installing the receiving antenna that will be used to surround the lower leg of this horse where we suspect the disease process is occurring. After the horse is positioned in the MR system, we control the computer here at the operating console, and we're able to look at the images that the MR system acquires for us. When using MR, we get back the information in what we call tomographic slices, which an easy way to explain would be if you think of the patient as a bread loaf, we then get to look at individual slices of bread of that patient.
When making his diagnosis, Dr. Tucker looks at over 300 of these precise images, and they only take about 30 to 60 minutes to produce. An incredible advancement in veterinary medicine.
You know, we receive emails from all over the world. This week in our email bag, we heard from Allison, way down under in Sydney, Australia. G'day, Allison.
And Allison Gibson has a question for Jeanette Coote. And she writes, where can I get adequate information on raising my foals? Let's find out.
Well, Allison, there's a number of good books out there on overall raising foals. Probably Blessed is the Broodmare is a pretty good book. On technical stuff, dealing with the problems with the neonatal foal and problem foals, I really like Dr. Madigan's book, Manual of Equine Neonatal Medicine. I have no idea where you'd get it, probably through the University of Davis Press. But those are two suggestions I have for you. There's also several good videos out there on foaling and on managing your broodmare and foal.
Thanks for watching the show today.
See you next week on The Complete Rider.
See you then. Come on, Red.